To go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Which we didn't, Big Rig's on the board. Hey buddy, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
I'm good. We never got Speedy Gonzalez, did we? Did you?
No, we didn't.
Oh, dude, we got to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to Taco Tuesday. How you doing, man? You doing good?
Good, I'm doing good.
Yeah. Despite the fact we don't have a sound effect, we got to get a sound effect.
Yeah, I'm still working on that one and also the Turbo Thursday.
Turbo Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. We might as well have a sound effect for every day. What are we going to have for Monday? Womp womp womp. No, we won't do that.
That sounds pretty good.
No, we won't do that. That's ugly. All right. Listen, we got a great show laid on for you. Coming up at 3:00. A return appearance by a guy named Robin Stone. Robin works for the Alliance of Alabama Healthcare Consumers. Here's the bottom line. You may remember that Robin came on and talked about that bill that was being floated through the legislative process that would have added $10 plus onto every prescription. What? Yes. And we're going to get an update from Robin Stone as a part of our home prize discussion as to where that bill is right now. Is it moving? I see it as a tax by another means. So, yeah, Robin Stone at 3:00. And then at 3:45, tried to get her on yesterday, couldn't line up our schedules, but Hannah Stevens, the UA sign girl, is going to come on and give us a dose of right sports. She's got the goods, and it's a good thing we waited because some big things happened even yesterday. So, yeah, we'll be on the line at 3:45 with Hannah Stevens getting a dose of right sports. All that plus a triple dipper. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So very first, you heard me mention it, home fries. Home Fries, going to cook up a batch of what we like to call home fries, which are news stories that are happening in and around and amongst us here in the state of Alabama, things you got to know that happen in your backyard because they're significant. So yeah, number 1, Triple Dipper, home fries. Number 2, in conjunction with our conversation with Hannah Stevens, we'll do a dose of right sports. Y'all, there's some stuff that's happened, obviously, in the last few days. We've had the spring games for Auburn, I think Alabama too, and then we've also, of course, had the NCAA tournament, and you know, where did Alabama wind up, and how did all that play, and then we got a ruling that came out just in the last 48 hours, a major ruling about transgenderism in sports. We'll talk about all of it with Hannah Stevens, right sports, number 2 on the Triple Dipper, and then number 3, assuming I can get to it, number 3, I'm calling it the false bottom. It's amazing when knuckleheads in government commit acts of jackassery, thinking that what they're doing is going, hey, we're going to put a safety net in place. We're going to make sure you got everything you need. We're going to gerrymander the market and make sure it does certain things. And it just collapses because it's a false bottom. I got several stories like that. Oh my gosh, these people, where do they, you know what? Not a single one of them's ever held a real job. False bottom, number 3, Triple Dipper. All right, let me move over here to my opening monologue. I'll remind you guys, as always, that Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that covers a lot of ground in North Alabama, places like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala, 6 more locations around the Birmingham area. Southern Immediate Care, open 7 days a week in every location. We'll see all ages. Southern Immediate Care is the sponsor daily of the Right Side Way monologue, and we certainly appreciate it. So this one is going to be a bit of a history lesson and a bit of just a touch of regret. I don't know about you, but I do have a bucket list of sorts. I mean, it's not a long list. There are some places I'd like for Charlene and I to visit. There's a few things I would still like to do. There's some people that I would really like to have lunch with one day. I mean, seriously. I would like to do more than to shake their hand in a receiving line. There's a few key folks that I have had the desire just to get to know them and hear what they have to say and maybe ask them some in-depth questions and sit there and break bread together, just have lunch. I'm talking about people who during my lifetime have inspired me from afar with their personal walk. people who have actually made a difference or impacted greatly the society around them or overcome amazingly or stood up under pressure without wavering on who they are and what they believe. But I'll be honest with you, my people list is getting a little shorter because some of the greats who I admire have passed away. I would love to have sat down for lunch with Ronald Reagan. I mean, what man in my lifetime has done more to inspire people in the political arena than him? A man who could inspire with words, but then actually follow through and turn them into actions. He did what he did while working in one of the most difficult environments in the U.S. in the world, the U.S. politics. But Reagan passed away in 2004. Another one who I really wanted to have some time to get to know was Billy Graham. Honestly, I did. No one in modern history has done more to advance the kingdom of God, to lead people to a saving grace knowledge of Christ, than the Reverend Billy Graham. He met with world leaders, he spoke to millions, he pioneered the ability to take the gospel to the far corners of the world in the age of mass communications, and he maintained his faith and integrity throughout all the years that he served. Billy Graham passed away in 2018. And there are military leaders that I've been inspired by, men who were leaders, warriors, strategists, men who during my lifetime continued to inspire myself and other young troops with their legacy of uniformed service. And there is one who lived very close by, and I wish that I had made the effort to pursue my bucket list and find a way to shake his hand and get a cup of coffee and just hear him talk about life. But that man passed away yesterday, peacefully, in his sleep, at 97 years old. America, the U.S. Army, and the Ranger community lost a legend yesterday, and I lost an opportunity on my bucket list. You may not have heard of him, but you're about to. Colonel Ralph Puckett. He was a hero of heroes, a leader of men, a mentor to many, and he lived right down the road in Columbus, Georgia. The award for the top officer graduate in every Ranger School class is named after Ralph Puckett. One of the most highly decorated men to serve in the U.S. Army. He's a veteran of 2 wars. He was known by many for his awards and decorations. He's a paratrooper, a ranger, a Green Beret. He wore master parachutist and glider badges and a combat infantryman's badge with a star that signified he had fought in 2 wars, Korea and Vietnam. He was the recipient, wait for this, you ready? He was the recipient of the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, 3 Legions of Merit, 2 Bronze Stars for Valor, and 5 Purple Hearts. Kid you not. His exploits are not only legendary, they are the stuff of which young troops should be taught in military training. In November of 1950, Puckett was just a young lieutenant who volunteered to be a Ranger Company commander with a new unit that was being formed. He commanded the 8th Army Ranger Company, and with only a month to form the company and train his men, he wound up leading them into combat against a massive Chinese force at a place that was simply called Hill 205. Puckett led his men against the superior enemy force, and he fought uphill and seized the terrain. And for the next 5 hours, Puckett's 51 men, just 51 men, fought off 6 waves of overwhelming Chinese forces. Puckett himself was wounded 3 times in the melee as he ran among the foxholes to encourage his men and strengthen their positions. He called in constant danger close artillery missions, and when it became apparent that the Chinese were finally going to overrun the hill, he ordered his men to leave him behind and abandon the position. His men refused. The creed of the Ranger contains the phrase that I will never leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy. So under withering fire, they dragged and carried their leader away from the onslaught. When they got off the hill, Puckett found a radio that still worked, and he called in an artillery strike and devastated the Chinese forces. He spent a year in the hospital recovering from his wounds. But after that, he was asked to help form the new U.S. Army Ranger School and to lead the Mountain Ranger Training Department in the mountains of North Georgia. After that, he became a Green Beret, served with the 10th Special Forces Group, but in 1967, Ralph Puckett returned to the infantry and he took command of the 2nd Battalion of the 502nd Infantry of the 101st Airborne Division in Vietnam. And at a place called Duc Pho, Puckett flew into a pitched battle in which his troops were already there and engaged on the ground. He ran through a minefield, he linked up with his men, he took command of the battle against a large Viet Cong force. And as he had done before in Korea, he was everywhere on that battlefield. He ran from one fighting position to another, even carried ammunition out to the front by himself. He remained out in the open with reports saying that bullets were striking all around him, so his men could see their leader just right there in the thick of things with them, and refused extraction until all of his men were off the field of battle. For his actions in both of those battles, Hill 205 in Korea and Duc Pho in Vietnam, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross 2 times. Now, listen, 2 DSCs would be epic in itself, but Ralph Puckett, he was known for so much more than his heroics on the battlefield. He was known as much for his care, concern, and mentorship of young troopers as he was anything. You see, Puckett retired from active service in 1971, but he was still a fixture at Fort Benning. He was always there among the troops. He was a constant source of encouragement to young men and women who were striving to become paratroopers and rangers. He was known to personally attend their graduation ceremonies, to speak at their gatherings, and to spend time giving them one-on-one inspiration. He was a leader, first and foremost, and being in uniform or not, it did not deter him from his calling. The 75th Ranger Regiment made him the honorary colonel of the regiment, a position that he held for almost 2 decades. He was the kind of man that men fought for. And on the field of battle, they not only looked to him for guidance, but they also refused to leave his side, risking their own lives to carry him out. At a time when he even had no medals, his men fought their way back through the enemy fire to save their leader. And that same level of inspiration, it just never ended. So much so that the men that he had served with continued to lobby their elected leaders to get his awards upgraded. And after nearly 70 years, at the ripe old age of 95, Ralph Puckett came to the White House, and his Distinguished Service Cross from Korea was upgraded to the Medal of Honor. By then, Colonel Puckett used a walker for getting around, but at the ceremony, wearing a uniform that was covered in hard-earned badges and medals, he refused to use his walker, and he stood up unassisted while the president hung his medal around his neck. A guy named Jeff Mellinger, who knew Puckett personally, said this. He said, quote, "He's an icon of the Army Ranger, and those who have met, listened to, or talked with Colonel Ralph Puckett are left not only in awe of him and his extensive and undaunted courage, but also of his humility and his genuine warmth." So Colonel Ralph Puckett passed away yesterday, peacefully in his sleep at the age of 97. I'll be honest with you, I have very few regrets in life, me personally. But one of them would be not ever getting to know him personally. I saw him from afar. He was a legend among us, the man among men. Ralph Puckett, 97 years old. Rangers lead the way. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, that's just something, man. I'm telling you, he was literally, when there's awards named after you while you're still living, what does that say? Ralph Puckett, men who served with him never forgot serving with him. And they would do everything it took to make sure that he got his due. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's probably few that have been decorated like he has, and yet he was as humble as the day is long. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, a legend is past. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Wow, saving the world one soundbite at a time. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. The monologue a moment ago, if you want to comment on that, I'd love to. If anybody out there, by the way, knew of or had interacted with Ralph Puckett, I sure would love you to text something in and say something about it. If you had knowledge of him before, let me know. But he absolutely was a legend. I have to say was now because he passed away yesterday, obviously. But the guy was literally, what I'm told, one of the most humble and yet inspiring men. He was unassuming. He's the kind of guy who, despite all the things he had done, he would give you the shirt off his back. Everything that I'm told is his love, his passion in life was not just the Rangers, but was to be there as a mentor for young troops. And he just saw that as his calling, his passion, I guess. Anyway, they need to make a movie about his life because, gosh, the guy's been there. A Medal of Honor, a Distinguished Service Cross, multiple Silver Stars, multiple Bronze Stars, multiple Legions of Merit, 5 Purple Hearts. Good gosh. They don't make them like that. Jeff from Indiana says... he's actually, that's you texted back to Jeff from Indiana. Jeff sent a picture of the eclipse his friends took in Jasper. That is a very cool picture. Wow, look at that one.
Look at it closely.
With birds flying by, is that what I'm seeing?
Yep.
Wow, that is way cool. It looks like it's falling apart or something because all the birds in the air.
Looks like an album cover or something.
It does. There are going to be album covers using these pictures. What do you bet?
I
guarantee you. John from Huntsville says, Phil, fantastic monologue. I was not shedding any happy tears last night because Purdue got demolished by UConn, so I did not win a local prize package. But hey, I still got my Rightside Ruffian t-shirt that I won for coming in first place in the Rightside Radio College Pick'em Challenge. Yes, you did, John from Huntsville. Yes, you did. And we got some new t-shirts coming out pretty soon, so we'll have to talk about that. Morgan from Fort Myers says, rest in peace, Colonel Puckett. He said, my takeaway from that is that we shouldn't waste time doing what's on our bucket list because you never know when things or people that are on it are going to be gone, and you don't know when your last day is, and I want to try not to miss any more of the things on my bucket list. I had bands I wanted to see, and the members died, and now that opportunity is gone forever. I want to try to not miss any opportunities before it's my time to go. Morgan, you nailed it, man. That was really part of what I was about to say, too. Thank you for segueing for me on that. I was literally thinking everything I'm told is he was an extremely approachable person. I mean, you might go down there and just find him sitting at, Waffle House having a cup of coffee. I mean, he was not unapproachable. He was not unattainable, and he was literally right down the road. And I look back now and go, why did I not see if I could find a connection and just introduce myself one day so I could say that I did? Anyway, but Morgan, you're right, man. If it's on your bucket list, it's because you've got a desire to do something, and to the extent you can, do it. Anyway, Chris from Gadsden says, so you join the Army, go to Ranger School, and don't bother to meet Colonel Puckett? Thanks, Chris. Next thing you'll tell me is you never went to Piedmont to see Desmond Doss. I did not, but I also did not know that Desmond Doss was in Piedmont until he passed away. So there, how you like that? You know what we're talking about there? That's the guy that the movie, what Ridge? Hang on a second, I just forgot the name of the movie. Oh, someone's going to just crush me now with the name of the movie. But Desmond Doss, he was a World War II veteran, saved a lot of lives battling in the Pacific, and Hacksaw Ridge. Is that it? Hacksaw Ridge? Anyway, but he lived right down the road in Piedmont. Nice. Just salt of the earth. People didn't even realize his story. His story was epic. He was also a conscientious objector because of his faith, couldn't carry a rifle. So they let him become a medic. And good Lord, the man was the heat.
Yeah.
Allie from Athens says, I'm sorry for your loss, Colonel, and I've been stung myself by the pain and regret when it comes to the bucket list. Just remember, you'll get your chance again when you see him face to face on the other shore. There you go. Said, I'm sure he'll be one of the ones that welcomes you home. Wow, Allie, thank you for that. And then Ken from Harvest says, for Taco Tuesday, how about we have the Taco Bell Chihuahua? Yo quiero Taco Bell.
I don't know, though. That's Taco Bell, not Taco Tuesday.
Yo quiero taco, right side. All right, we'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, Alabama. Y'all, I'm talking about this show goes like way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. A couple of quick texts, and then I'll jump right into Dipper number one. Raven from Russellville. He says, Colonel, my bucket list is pretty well complete, but my oath never expires. I hear you, brother. Stay in the fight. Chef Ben from Oneonta squared me away. It was Hacksaw Ridge. Yes, that's the name of the movie, Hacksaw Ridge. It's going to have to be on your watch list now. It is probably one of the better movies of the last 10 years for portraying a true life character and doing a great job of doing honor to who he was.
When was the movie made?
Probably in the last 5-6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty new. But it's a World War II true story. Medal of Honor winner Desmond Doss, Alabama native Piedmont. He was from Tennessee originally. I just didn't know that he had moved down to Alabama. Anyway, first thing out the gate, man, we're going to do our recurring theme of making sure you know what's happening in and around and amongst you. Looking in your own backyard sometimes is just as important as looking out front. I'm just going to tell you right now, what happens in your state sometimes can make more of an impact upon your life than what happens in D.C. or some foreign government. So that being said, we like to cook up a batch of what we call home fries. Oh, yeah. Just cooking them up, man. Listen, I just saw a story. This is not even in my stack, so I can't rattle the paper. But it's right now. It just came out in the last little bit here while I've been on the air. Secretary of State Wes Allen for the state of Alabama, who has been on the show multiple times, he has apparently just notified the National Democratic Party that they run the risk of not getting Biden on the ballot. This could get really interesting. I mean, I look at it and go, no, come on. What are we doing? And he's not trying to keep him off. What's happened is this. The law of the state requires him to, have a cutoff date for the ballots. And we have to have certified candidates, certified by their party as being certified to the ballot for him to then print the ballots and have them ready for the elections. So it appears that the cutoff date is going to be August I think it's the 15th. And yet the Democratic National Convention is currently not even scheduled to convene until August 19th. In other words, they might not have their candidate officially, confirmed at the convention. I'm looking at that going, wait a minute. Surely to goodness, somebody in the National Democratic Party had their act together enough to know that there's a deadline for doing this kind of stuff. It's not like we're going, we just don't like Trump, so we're going to decertify him because of insurrection and things. No, this is like our state law says, look, you got to have it to us by a certain date. And Secretary of State Wes Allen has made it known, quote, it has recently come to my attention the Democratic National Convention is currently scheduled to convene on August 19th, which is after the state of Alabama's statutory deadline for political parties to provide certificates of nomination for president and vice president. He wrote this letter to the chair of the Alabama Democratic Party. He said, if this office has not received a valid certificate of nomination from the Democratic Party following its convention by the statutory deadline, I will be unable to certify the names of the Democratic Party's candidates for president and vice president for ballot preparation. Wow, that's just crazy. He cites the code. It's found in 17-14-31B. You have to have your candidate certified no later than 82 days preceding the election to allow time for the formation and printing of the ballots. I've never heard of this before. I mean, I've heard of the deadlines. I've never heard of a national party just going, yeah, we'll get to you. Hey, just hold the door, man. We're coming. No, it doesn't work that way. This train's leaving the station, dude. So we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm just going to bet that either A, there's going to be some listen, truthfully, Biden's not going to win this state anyway, but he can't not be on the ballot. So there's going to be something that happens. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if there's going to be a resolution of the state legislature while they're still in session, or there's going to be a shifting of the calendar dates by the National Democratic Party, which would be more appropriate. I don't know. All I know is the Secretary of State in Alabama is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He is following the statutory law. Take note, Pennsylvania and all you other states that gerrymandered your rules and laws last time. The Secretary of State has no legislative authority. It's going to be our state legislature has to act, or the Democratic National Party has to do their job and do it right and get it in on time. Whew, there's that. All right, home fries, keep on cooking. You ready? Here's one for you. A bill right now in the Alabama legislature has been filed by Representative Shane Stringer from Citronelle, Republican, to prohibit financial institutions from collecting financial transaction data specific to firearms and ammunition. What did I just say? So there's a movement afoot. In September of 2023, just this last fall, a group called the International Organization for Standardization. Believe it or not, there's these organizations out there that you have no idea the impact they have on your life. So this group called the International Organization for Standardization, I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie, like something from, some dystopian movie about Big Brother. The International Organization for Standardization. Big Brother shall give you what you're allowed to say in Newspeak. Anyway, their job is to assign the codes that credit card companies use to track purchases. And oh, by the way, in the world of ESG and liberals who find ways to screw with our lives, they determined it would be necessary to take firearms and ammunition out of the standardized coding of sporting goods and create a separate code. Why would they do this? So we can track firearm sales. Why do you want to track firearm sales? Well, we just need to know. Do you now? Yes. Well, there's this thing called red flag laws that liberals love right now, where they're allowed to go ahead and say, we don't like Wade Lux. Somebody said he was crazy. His ex-wife reported him. Okay, red flag, now we got to take your guns. How do we know if you have guns? Because we have a credit card purchase that shows you bought them. So gun rights advocates have been opposing this, obviously, and I thought we got it stymied. But several states have now passed a bill in their own state legislatures to prohibit banks in their state from using these codes for the very reason that establishing gun lists is considered bad form. It's a risk to the Second Amendment. Well, we now have a bill in the Alabama legislature. Now, here's the thing, though. It's been dropped in pretty late. I'm always a little suspicious of bills that get dropped in past the halfway point, because if it was important, why'd you wait? I mean, every once in a while something comes up, you're like, oh, we didn't see that coming. We got to deal with that. I get it. But we saw this coming last fall. So I have to question, why is this bill just for show? Hey, I'm sorry, didn't have time. I dropped the bill in, couldn't get it moving. Oh, well, you waited to the middle of the session to do it. Either way. Now, I'll say this. Representative Stringer, he's the real deal. He's the reason he carried the bill that gave us permitless carry. So we're a open carry / permitless carry state now because of partly because of him. So there's that. Keep an eye on that bill. I'm curious to see if it starts moving. If it gains traction real quick, we'll know that it was legit. Okay, here's a story, though, that makes me mad. Just ticks me off. So we got a situation right up here in the north part of the state, Madison County. A man was arrested just last week on the murder of another man from last fall. So in November of 2023, Huntsville PD responded to a shooting victim on Cobb Road. When they got there, they found a guy named 33-year-old Francisco Ramirez who had died from gunshot wounds. Upon further investigation, they determined to issue a warrant for the arrest of a guy named, where's his name? Hang on a second. Walter Escorcia Gomez. Walter Escorcia Gomez. So Gomez was just found. How was he found? Well, because he was in another fight involving firearms. And in this particular fight, Gomez apparently got the crap beat out of him. And when police arrived on the scene, He was recognized as a murder suspect from that last November shooting of Ramirez. I know you're already questioning it. Hey, Phil, is he here illegally? Yes, apparently he is. So now we have a guy who's here illegally, who was involved in a shooting last November in Madison County. A man died. Oh, by the way, he had a firearm. He's here illegally. How did he get it? And then next thing you have is he's involved in another altercation that requires police intervention. And he's arrested on those charges. And it was just announced that within days, the Madison County DA intends to drop the murder charges. Why would this be? Well, they've now ruled it self-defense. They said that the witness statements and apparently a surveillance video have made it appear that it was actually a self-defense issue. Oh, so he and Ramirez both had guns and they were in some kind of a standoff. Ramirez pulled his gun first, but he wasn't very good with it. So Ramirez died when Gomez pulled his own firearm in self-defense. So you got an illegal alien, I don't know about the dead guy, but you got at least one illegal alien in a gunfight who prevails and then gets arrested after another fight in which he gets the crap beat out of him. Police are having to respond to this guy left and right. He's now been arrested for murder, but they're dropping the charges. What I want to know is what happens to the ICE detainer? Is he being turned over to ICE? That's what I want to know, because there is an actual, I've seen the picture. The mugshot with the ICE detainer is out there. Are they going to detain him? I want to know what the Madison County DA is going to do about this. Is the Madison County DA going to turn him over to federal authorities? If not, why not? I think this is a bigger story. I think this thing does not need to just poof, go away like too many of them do. What's the deal with this guy, Escortia Gomez, who was in a gunfight as an illegal alien, got into another fight as an illegal alien while warrants were out for him, is detained, and within 48 hours he's being released. The whole thing is just shady as all get out. So that just happened. I pulled that story off of WAFF.com. You can find it. The story was datelined today, as a matter of fact. So we'll see where that goes. We'll take a break right now. We'll come right back. I got a couple of things. And then top of the hour, we're going to do a refresh as a part of our home fries on what's going on with that bill in which they would wind up charging you $10 extra for a prescription. What? Yeah. We'll square you away here momentarily. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, making common sense like a superpower, which I still contend is a fresh phrase that I made up myself. But that being said, I gotta remind you guys. The show is available for you in a variety of ways. Now, we're known as a live show on the radio and love our stations. We got great networks. We're syndicated with both Crawford Broadcasting and with Cumulus Broadcasting. You can find us on various AM and FMs all over North Alabama every single day, 2 to 5, live, just like we are right now. But then there's also the live stream. And right now the live stream is going. If you want to live stream this and watch the studio as we do it, that's on YouTube. You can find it on Rumble. You can find it on Twitter. So yeah, check out Rightside Radio and all of those. Am I right in saying those are my sources, right?
Yep. You got Twitch also.
Oh, and Twitch. I forget. See, that's why I've got you, man. I just want to push the little button and talk to somebody. That's what I. That's why. All right, and then we got the podcast version. So Big Rig every single day takes the show, and then cleans up the audio, takes out all the advertisements, makes it into a clean podcast version, and sometimes even in smaller segments so you can get a piece of it, like an interview or something like that, and post it out there in podcast format, and all God's children can get it in various different podcast forms.
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, everywhere you get podcasts.
Whoop, whoop. And we are way past 200,000.
Oh, yeah.
And still cruising.
We're almost at 215,000 right now.
Shut up. Are we really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to say shut up. We don't allow that word in my house. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
But okay. I'll take a time out now. But anyway, so the reality is, it's cruising, and it's only getting better. And pretty soon we'll be announcing some new things that I look forward to telling you about very soon. In the meantime, let me jump on back in here to a batch of home fries. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Smell them cooking. All right. Speaking of smelling them cooking, Alabama was the home to Golden Flake. How many of y'all heard of Golden Flake? Everybody's heard of Golden Flake. If you've ever eaten a potato chip in the South, you ate. All right. I'll tell you what are some ubiquitous foods in the South? Golden Flake potato chips. Have you ever, I'm looking at Big Rig right now. Have you ever had Buffalo Rock Golden Ginger Ale?
No.
Oh, stop it. This is not right.
I've had Golden Flake. That was an old school, wavy potato chip.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they had the flat ones. I mean, they're like super thin, crispy, flat. Anyway, Golden Flake. Golden Flake became a monolith in potato chip world, and they were bought out in 2016. Golden Enterprises was the name of the major company that held it. But Utz Quality Foods bought them out for $141 million. Shoo! So $141 million. Well, just this week, it was announced that the original Golden Flake 5-building factory complex in Birmingham is being sold to a developer. A Chattanooga investment group called Second in Building Materials came in and for $6 million purchased the warehouse spacing and the additional 32 acres that goes along with it. I mean, it's a big complex. 36 acres, actually. A 283,000 square foot warehouse building, 36.7 acres, all of which became operational in 1958. It's like a landmark in terms of, and I know right where it is. But a company called Southeastern Salvage, and we talked about this before the show. I think Southeastern Salvage is one of those where you can go buy reclaimed architectural pieces and things that are taken out of old buildings and houses. Yeah. Anyway, Southeastern Salvage is going to take up a big chunk of that warehouse. They're already signing the lease. But the move to the Golden Flake property, it says, will allow Southeastern Salvage to double the size of its current store in addition to a 66,000 square foot outdoor garden and patio center. I can't wait. I love architectural salvage. I mean, one of my favorites is right over, it's owned by State Senator Garland Gudger over in Coleman. I love going over there and checking out their stuff. But that to me is a significant story. That's a piece of Alabama legacy right there, Golden Flake potato chips.
So it's going to be like a Walmart-sized salvage yard?
I guess.
For home products?
It's going to be full of cool stuff.
Furniture. And
every corbel and antique door and piece of stained glass and architectural element is going to be all just stacked in there for people to come and peruse.
That might be interesting to check out.
That's a Saturday afternoon for me right there.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. All right, listen, I thought you might want to know that. That happened right there in your backyard. I got a text from Cameron from Decatur. He says, I grew up on Buffalo Rock ginger ale. My dad would bring it home by the case. Also like IBC root beer. Yes. But yeah, Buffalo Rock Golden ginger ale, man, it'll almost burn your nose. It's got so much ginger in there that when you drink it, I mean, I used to have to drink it in small sips as a kid because it was like so strong. I felt like I was drinking like whiskey or something. But it was just part of the South, in my opinion. We could only get it at my granny's house in Birmingham when I was growing up. And it came in those little glass bottles. Buffalo Rock, Golden Ginger Ale, Golden Flake potato chips, just all the goodness.
Good old days are gone, man.
That and a moon pie and some fried okra, and I'd be good all day long, man. All right, listen, we're going to come back here in a minute, and I'm going to remind you guys there was a piece of legislation making its way through the processes in the State House that would have raised your prescription rates by $10 plus per prescription. We're going to have a guy named Robin Stone calling in momentarily to give us an update. I think we got some good news. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, we are still cooking up a batch of what we like to call home fries. So yeah, I can smell them cooking from here. News from in and around and amongst you right here in your state, because sometimes what happens in your backyard is just as important, if not more so, than what happens in D.C. or elsewhere. Well, one of the things that was about to happen is House Bill 238. Kind of caught everybody off guard, at least it did me. Representative Philip Rigsby from Madison had a bill that would ostensibly put a $10 plus charge on every prescription, every one. Like if you have multiple prescriptions, all of them, $10 plus if your plan is employer provided. Why would they do this? I mean, all they're doing is jacking up rates. Well, they claimed that it was an opportunity for a dispensing fee to help sort of fix the market for the pharmacists. Well, I got news. That's a tax by another name. Anyway, somebody who came on the show a few weeks ago is now back. Robin Stone is the executive director of the Alliance for Alabama Healthcare Consumers. He's been long involved in the lobbying efforts of the medical and business communities down in Montgomery. He knows firsthand what can happen when bills come forward and then get considered and then sometimes get pushed back, but we'll see. In the meantime, let's bring him on for an update because maybe we have some good news. Robin Stone, how are you doing?
Well, I'm fine, Phil. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. And yes, sir, I do have some good news, at least for a while. As we talked about, there was legislation which you mentioned would have increased pharmacy-related health care costs on employers, their employees, and consumers in general. But that particular piece of legislation is no longer under consideration by the House of Representatives, at least for this current session, according to House leaderships and indeed the bill's sponsor. So that is very good news. There was a very quick and immediate reaction by consumers through social media, through talk radio, through all kinds of vehicles, and the leadership, to their credit, has pressed the pause button so that all the interested parties can get together on a task force for a working group. So at least for now, I wouldn't say that bill certainly hasn't gone away. It will come back, sponsored by the pharmacists, but at least now it is off the table.
Well, that is good news. And so, yeah, just to sort of update my folks on the processes, this was a House bill only. We did not have a Senate version of this bill passing as well, did we?
No, it is only a House bill. Like you said, it was proposed by Representative Rigsby, who here in Madison, Alabama, and he has confirmed that the bill is no longer under discussion. But you nailed it. It's exactly right. It would have been a $10.64 fee that would go on every prescription filled for every person in Alabama every time they go to the pharmacy. Now, that prescription fee would be attached to pharmacy benefit managers, who would then turn around and pass that fee on to employers and employees, and really raise the cost of prescription drugs. And so that, for a while at least, we have dodged that bullet. Now we all move on to the discussion period of this bill. Pharmacists are very valuable in the healthcare delivery chain in Alabama. You know, we certainly want to have a robust market, but we do. We have a lot of pharmacists in Alabama. Alabama ranks high in the number of independent pharmacists, according to their own Washington D.C. based association. So that is good news for a while, and we thank Speaker Ledbetter and his team for recognizing that there are issues there.
Well, so, all right, let me ask you this then, Robin. So it was a House bill only. The Speaker has committed not to let it move forward. The bill sponsor has already announced that it's not going to move forward. But the key words there are for this session. So they're setting up a working group. Now, you and I both know, because you've seen the process even more than I have, but a working group can mean one of two things. It's a nice way to kill a bill-friendly way, or it's a way to build the bill's strength over time and bring it back later. What do you anticipate here?
I think this bill is definitely going to be coming back. There's no question in my mind. The proponents of this bill, that's basically a pharmacy owners, not necessarily just pharmacists, and it's a misnomer. The money for this bill, this fee, would be going to pharmacy owners, not just general pharmacies necessarily. But that group has already started a campaign about a pharmacy crisis and pharmacy availability. There is no pharmacy closure crisis in Alabama. There's some huge numbers being thrown out that 300 pharmacies have closed in Alabama, but the problem is nobody seems to have the list. The numbers that we have from the Pharmacy Association D.C. shows that there were 25 pharmacies that closed last year, but nevertheless, that rhetoric has already been proposed. But the good news about all this is that the process, the opponents, the proponents, particularly the people who are paying the bills, which is the employers, I would remind you that 52% of everyone in Alabama is insured through their workplace. That's 2.750 million Alabamians. And so they're very keen on this bill right now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, I can think right now, Robin, I've got family members. I got one family member who has probably 5 or 6 prescriptions per month. I mean, we'd be looking at $50 to $60 more per month just to get prescriptions that she already has to get. And did Rigsby, where did they come up with $10.64? How was that the number? That's a weird number too, by the way.
Well, there is a Medicaid uses a dispensing fee, but that's of course the government. The government prints money; employers don't. And Medicaid uses a dispensing fee of $10.64. So they just basically took the government's rate of reimbursement and handed it over to the private sector, which it's apples and oranges there. But you're exactly right. If your family member is going in, our estimation is there's somewhere around $800 million that would be generated through this fee, and that fee is, according to this bill, would be passed on immediately back to pharmacy owners. Now, that's basically taking $800 million and dividing it up among pharmacy owners across the state. Like I said, we value pharmacists and the service they provide, but every profession and every service only has so much value, and we feel like that's excessive.
Well, you made an analogy last time you were on my show, and I have actually I give you full credit, but I have used it multiple times in discussing this with other people, and that's that there's no other place that we can think of where the government gets involved with price fixing to help the profit margins of a private entity. And this would be like if a muffler shop felt like they weren't getting full reimbursement, that they would be allowed to, by government statute, put a $10 charge on the cost of your muffler. It makes no sense, and I'm glad to see the bill is stymied for now.
Well, that's exactly right. That analogy is spot on. What business wouldn't like to be guaranteed a profit? And if you know you're not going to lose money, the only thing you can do almost, unless you're just not a very good businessman or woman, is to make money. But I will tell you this. It's very concerning. There seems to be a trend by certain providers to come to the legislature to ask them to engage in private contracts. And when an employer purchases health care insurance through Blue Cross or United or Aetna or whoever it may be, they expect them to have a quality provider network that's cost-effective. What they don't expect is for the legislature to intervene itself. And as you all know, for years, engaging in mandated benefits was the third rail of politics for a long, long time. But unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case any longer because previously legislators understood that it would certainly be passed on directly. So that's a lot to be concerned about, and I think there's a lot of discussion to be had to try to right that ship and educate members as to what happens. These costs are not absorbed by insurance companies. No. They're passed on to the payers. So just like that's just business. So hopefully we can use this opportunity to educate members of the legislature that this is not free, and what they're really doing is passing it on. But I have to tell you that I think I mentioned that 50% of the people in Alabama get their insurance through their employer. So that basically what that means is that 50% of the people are paying 100% of the cost. And so that's very much a concern, and and it's not fair. So,
yeah, that's a disparate treatment under the law right there. I think this whole thing would have been grounds for potential litigation. But Robin, I mean, that's first of all, it's good news. Good job on your part working to educate folks and bring the attention it needed to get this thing kind of put to bed, at least for now. And I guess from here forward, we just stay vigilant and keep working the processes, right?
Ray, yes, sir. Thank you, and thanks for getting the word out about this piece of legislation. And it worked, and people responded in kind to their members. And so, as a result, we're going to have a meaningful discussion about this legislation and its impact on consumers and employers.
All right, well, good enough. Robin Stone, Executive Director for the Alliance of Alabama Healthcare Consumers. We appreciate you. Keep us posted, man, if you hear something new. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. That's just first of all, that's good news. We do not need to see people turning around and finding that the prescriptions they got yesterday are now $10 more expensive because somebody just wanted the government to fix the price for them. That would just be like next levels of wrong, especially when it's something that you have to have for your health. I mean, they kind of got a captive audience at that point.
And think about the diabetic people too.
Oh yeah, diabetics and everybody else. I mean, if you got a prescription, if you're getting things by prescription, and they're through an employer-provided plan, this was going to impact you on every single prescription. And if you have to get multiple prescriptions per month, every single one of them. That's just asinine. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and call jackassery on that. You want to hit me some jackassery before we go to the break? I think that was Alabama-based jackassery. That was a home fry jackassery right there. All right, brother, take us to a break. We'll come right back and talk that through a little bit and start winding ourselves towards Dipper number 2. Some Right Sports coming up here in about 30 minutes. You guys stay tuned. We will be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Just making it cool to be a conservative. I got several text messages. I'll take those. They're right on topic, as a matter of fact. Trey from Madison, first of all, says, so the guy who, by the way, who had the bill, Philip Rigsby, Representative Philip Rigsby from Madison, Trey from Madison says, okay, I almost ran against Rigsby last time, but I didn't. I think next time I will. Go for it, Trey. I encourage folks, if you want to run for office, the only way to do it is just to do it. But then he also said this, Trey from Madison still, he says that he had talked to another pharmacist. He said that he's told that this thing has been misrepresented, that we just talked about, that it was never supposed to be paid by the drug customers. It was supposed to be paid by the distributors. Says, make sure you get some clarification on this. Well, I did, and I understand that. Nothing is going to be absorbed long-term by the big companies. It will always get passed on. Unless they find a way to say, you can't charge people, it's going to get charged. And so it's sort of like saying out in California, well, if we raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour, it's not like it's going to affect everybody's burger. Yes, it actually is. It's going to come all the way down. Trickle-down economics works in good ways and bad ways. So, it's going to trickle down. And these folks, these companies, they can't just sit there and go, we're, out of the goodness of our heart, we're going to absorb $800 million worth of fees that never were there before, and we're not sure why they're there now. I know that the Representative Rigsby has said that he does not believe this is a tax. He says it's been mischaracterized as a tax. He says nowhere does it say the word tax in the bill, a story that I pulled here off of AlabamaReflector.com. He said if anyone hears the word tax, instantly it creates a negative feeling, and they knew it would. And he's just basically saying it's being misrepresented. But here's the thing. Your state employers, RSA plans, all of the plans for like education and government employees, which is tons and tons of employees in the state, those alone cost more because they use a pharmacy benefit manager, which is designed to keep costs at a good level. But when you start tacking on $10 per prescription, suddenly the state of Alabama has to either bear it or they have to pass it on to the employee. So do we pay for it as taxpayers? I would suggest we shouldn't. And then, the other thing is it still goes in the flies in the face of the free market principles. Do we need the government to come in and do price fixing so that, when does it stop? So if the pharmacists get it, then do we go ahead and say, yeah, now plumbers get it? And then when plumbers get it, do we go ahead and say, well, here's the thing. Folks that stock building supplies, they get it now. For every 2x4, we're going to add $5. Really? Yeah, it's a stocking fee. These kind of fees get old, and they do get passed on to the consumer. So when the Biden administration raises rates that cost the airlines more, what do? They find new ways to tack on a luggage fee. It's going to pass down to us no matter what. Cousin Crystal from Moulton says that $10. Hang on, my texture just decided to reboot right then as I'm reading.
Mine did too, and it's not coming back up.
Okay, it came back. It says that $10 would cost me more than most of my prescriptions. Yeah, Crystal, you are so right. Kimball from Harvest, what do you say here? Says, Phil, government has an insatiable appetite for money. It will shamelessly take all it can get for taxpayers any way it can. It views our money as its money. Someone introduces these bills, is convinced by the good idea fairy to try, the good idea fairy, I have used that analogy many times, the good idea fairy to try and, quote, fix a problem that it, quote, perceives. The $10 fee sounds completely arbitrary to me. Capitalism figures these things out in a far more efficient way. A bad idea will die if it is left to the free market. And then Lee from Owens Crossroads texted in, come on, texting machine. How maddening is technology? We can't live without it. And then we can't live with it. She says, Phil, Lee here from Owens Crossroads. When will the state propose just a lottery bill? No other gambling. We're losing hundreds of millions a year. We're really not losing it. I don't think we are. I don't think that the reality is that there's so many Alabamians rushing to Georgia to buy it. Yes, some are, sure. But the bottom line is you're not going to see a clean lottery bill anytime soon. because the people who have been breaking our laws for years hold sway over some legislators, and they're going to make sure that casinos, racetracks, and others are included in any bill because they know that as soon as you pass a clean lottery bill, they'll never get a piece of legislation with their names written in it again after that. All right, folks, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. More to come. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, y'all. I'm talking about Alabama. This show goes like way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Hey, by the way, fair warning, I am going to take a break quicker than usual on this segment because we got to schedule it just right so we can get Hannah Stevens on here to talk about some right sports. Schedule aligned to where she was available at 3:45, and I did not want to miss the opportunity. So, usually I take my break a little later in the segment, but we'll take it a little earlier this time. So about 5 minutes from now, just stay tuned. By the way, I got to tell you, as you're hearing during the breaks, the ads that are playing, just know this. Rightside Radio, we are a standalone entity. We are a business unto ourselves. We're not owned by the stations you hear us on. We send them our show. But like any other business, we have to, have revenue to sustain our operations. And the way we do that in part is by selling ads. So if you're out there listening and you're a right side ruffian and you got goods and services of your own, get this. All of our stations around North Alabama combined tell us that we've got over 30,000 plus right side ruffians that listen every single week to the show. That's a lot of folks, y'all. That's a captive audience of people that might rather buy from another ruffian like you. So if you want to advertise on Rightside, you don't call the station direct, you actually contact us. You go to our website, rightsideradio.org. That's rightsideradio.org. Go to the advertising and contact tab and just send us a message. And Lauren from Rightside will be in touch with you ASAP. I think she would love to get you on the team. I know I'd love for it. So listen, we'd love to have you advertise on Rightside Radio. Go to rightsideradio.org. A couple of text messages real quick. Brandon from Athens says one of the pharmacies in Athens got a sign hanging up saying it's not a tax. Okay. Doesn't make the consumer feel any better, though, does it? I know, Brandon. I mean, I'm not fussing at you. I'm just saying that the pharmacy can say that all they want to. It's still a new cost that they're asking the government to tack on for their benefit. That's all it is. Justin from Madison is telling me that Rigsby's LinkedIn profile still has him listed as an active pharmacist. I don't know if that would apply to him, but Justin, thanks for the heads up. Leanne from Huntsville says some classes of controlled substances can't be filled for 30 days. Some are 90 days. Do I have to have a subpar drug prescribed so I can get 90 days and only pay I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question, Leanne. Right now, though, I know this. The bill has at least, I don't know about died, but it has gone to sleep for a while. So don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. It would be next year at the earliest before they could consider it again at this point. Mike from Athens. Phil, why are we paying to fix the Baltimore Bridge? Well, that's sort of a different question on a different topic, Mike. I don't know. Why in the company? Mike, it's a total different subject, brother. Thank you for asking. Ken from Harvest, he's going to look into, okay. That's you and him texting back and forth about finding a sound effect for Taco Tuesday. Now, Marshall from Dubai. Oh, man. Thank you, brother. He sent me a meme of Colonel Ralph Puckett. Has a picture of him back in the day and a picture of him when he got his Medal of Honor at 95 years old. He says, rest in peace, Colonel Puckett. Your mission is complete. No follow-up required. Rest well. For the rest of us will now guard the gates. Yep, man above men. If you missed my monologue, by the way, I spent some time talking about a legend in many ways, certainly a legend among the Army Rangers, a guy named Ralph Puckett, who passed away yesterday at 97 years old. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, 3 Bronze Stars for Valor, 5 Purple Hearts. Unbelievable. But he was also humble, and he loved just mentoring young troops. I mean, just a great guy. Jerry from Decatur, last one before I head to the break. Jerry from Decatur says, wasn't Obamacare made out to be a tax so we could pass constitutional muster? Watch out, airborne. Yes, you are correct. That was when Chief Justice Roberts first began to truly show his colors. We could have killed Obamacare at the Supreme Court, and instead he came back and said, well, I think it's just really a tax. And they have taxing authority in Congress, so it's not unconstitutional. It's just a tax. That's all it is. Yep, well, there you have it. There you have it. And then lastly, Emily from Huntsville just texted in, brand new texter, bud. Emily from Huntsville. Said the missed earlier comments, not sure if discussed, but some doctors' offices and areas charge people that require medication prescriptions written without an office visit. Isn't that discrimination according to the Americans? I don't know if I don't know if under the ADA it would be discrimination or not. You're telling me that doctors' offices in the area charge people that require prescriptions written without. Well, I guess what they're saying is you can't get the prescription without our services, and so we had to stop and do something for you, and so we're charging for it. I think it's a bit different than saying we're going to do an arbitrary fee so we can make a profit. They actually had to do something in this case, I think, to earn it. All right, we're going to take that short break right now. We're going to come right back. Hannah Stevens, known to many as the UA Sign Girl, will be on with us. Going to switch gears. Number 2, Triple Dipper. Some right sports. Let's see what's happening in the world of sports from the right side of things. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower up in here. So, all right, we're going to number 2 on the Triple Dipper, Right Sports. Listen, I love sports, but I can't talk them in the detail that my friend Hannah Stevens can. So many of y'all know Hannah as the UA sign girl. She became well known as a fixture at University of Alabama football games, holding up her signs, and it went from there. A degree, I believe, in sports broadcasting. Got her own gig with ESPN for a while. She was a Division I athlete herself, and now we have the joy of knowing that she can come on Rightside Radio and talk a little right sports. My friend Hannah Stevens, how are you doing?
I'm doing well today, Phil. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. All right. March Madness has now subsided. So
yeah.
I'm an Auburn fan, so I still hate Yale, but Alabama did what it did, and then talk to us about what happened with the final last night.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I think when you look at all the teams who played UConn so far, especially in the tournament, I think Alabama played them the hardest. And I think, that's something to consider. When you look at, in retrospect, how Alabama did, because, it's kind of hard to face a giant, right? Especially when he's over 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
And I think you have to give Alabama credit for where it's due because we played them well on defense. And if we would have played the way we did in the first half and the second half, I think we would have won. But, I think we got tired. I think we were too quick up and on the court. I think we could have controlled the tempo in the game a little bit better. We could have won as well. But regardless, I'm really happy. And, I know we're going to get later on into Kentucky basketball, but, considering Nate Oates is staying, and considering there are many guys who were on the court this year could actually choose to return for another year, I would love to see Alabama make a run for it next year and maybe win it all. But, yes, last night, UConn, Purdue, it's a classic showdown. I'll say this, though. You got to feel bad for Purdue because they have the record now for that many NCAA tournament wins without an NCAA championship. So you're a Purdue fan, you're kind of sick of getting to this point and not winning. But if you're UConn, UConn's kind of like the Alabama of college basketball, right? Men and women's, they're kind of known for being good. That kind of makes sense considering where they play in Connecticut. But, I'm very happy for them. I was really rooting for Purdue, to be honest with you. But it is nice to know, and I'll say this. The one thing Alabama football and Alabama basketball have in common this year is they both lost to the national champion in the Final Four, so to speak. College football is not the playoff, but
there's that. I'll give you that. But yeah, Boilermakers, it's always a bridesmaid, never a bride, right? So they
exactly
keep doing, but
more like runaway brides.
Does UConn even have a football team, or are they just solely a basketball school now? That's the way I look at it.
That's a good question. I don't really know. I think point they did, but the thing is I would say when you look at basketball and football, the SEC is really one of the only conferences that is dominant at both. Because you have the Pac-12, you have and they do have they're just that good that we know all about them. But the SEC has just become such a dominant conference in every single sport, whether it's Auburn or Alabama or Florida or Arkansas even. Arkansas is even great at baseball. So, you just have so many sports that are dominant in every single program in the SEC that, when you have conferences like, so to speak, the Pac-12 or, the Big East, you really just have a one-sport dominant program, and that's kind of what UConn is a basketball dominant program. That's where their money, their NIL money, their, all their energy goes towards that.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, once you find your niche, you'll run with it. And plus, it's also more cost-effective. Sure. Basketball's not near as impactful to the budget as running a football program or a multi-sport program. Anyway, all right, let me ask you this, though. I'm gonna jump around. I got several things you and I talked about we might cover on. All right, so briefly, staying with Alabama basketball, Nate Oates. There was big talk about where, there's been talk about him and Bruce Pearl in terms of Kentucky. So Kentucky needs somebody, and then they look around in the SEC and they go, Bruce Pearl, and then most notably Nate Oates, who just got back from the NCAA. But we got news on that now, right?
Yeah. Nate Oates is not leaving.
Okay.
Praise the Lord.
Well, please tell me Bruce Pearl's not, because I haven't heard anything out of Bruce Pearl yet.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't really think that he would fit that niche of a program, because you look at what Calipari did. When you look at how he changed the program, but I'll say this: I don't know a Kentucky fan. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Kentucky fans. I don't know a single one who's sad he's leaving, because he kind of like Purdue. He always got them close, but it continued to be, especially over the last couple of seasons, they just choked, and the choking got earlier and earlier. And so when you're a Kentucky fan and you realize, okay, we really need a new start. I mean, 15 years is a long time. 15 years, especially in college basketball, is a long time to be at a program. And I think for Kentucky fans, they kind of got weary of, just the not finishing it all the time. I mean, Kentucky really had no reason not to be a Final Four team every single year. And, especially with the transfer portal and the talent they have going and coming, I mean, there was really no excuse. So I think for Kentucky, they're excited. And I know Arkansas is excited to get a John Calipari because he is going to bring recruits with him. He is going to bring a different sense of energy and maybe a little bit of stability they haven't had in a long time. But I'm very excited to see who replaces them. But I'll go back to Bruce Pearl. I don't think he's the right fit because I think he reminds me a little bit of Nick Saban. I think that Nick Saban's a guy who loves having control. He loves being able to run the program and not having boosters control his every move.
Yeah.
And I think Bruce Pearl is similar at Auburn, and I think Kentucky's more of a booster-based program where boosters stay and do, and you kind of are the puppet, so to speak. And so I don't think Bruce Pearl would be their guy for that reason.
It's funny you say that, and maybe this is what you meant, but I was going to also say, beyond just coaching and beyond just being a fit and loved by the fan, Bruce Pearl's loved by his fans. But
Exactly.
But Bruce Pearl has also, down at Auburn, he has been sort of basically off the chain. He's allowed to say what he wants to say. He's got some very strong political views. He's got some. Oh, I make a huge echo there. He's got some very strong views on what's going on with Israel. He's very open about his faith. And Auburn has not tried to stymie him in any way that I'm aware of. And I can't guarantee that would be the same way anywhere else.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's exactly what I mean. I think that Bruce Pearl has just kind of shown that he is not a man who can or should be controlled. And I think he's been able to have free reign. And I think that is a big thing for him in Auburn. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's one reason why their football program at Auburn has struggled, because they don't have that. They haven't given a coach that same freedom. I mean, you look at Brian Harsin, a guy who wasn't really given much time, and and if you really want me to go down a controversial topic, I can go about it. I can talk to you about that one day and give you one big reason why Brian Harsin lost his job that no one's willing to talk about. But for me, I mean, someone like if you're looking at coaches, I mean, you have to, and I'll say one good one, Stanford's head coach. I think you look at someone like that who is still up and coming, who has done a great job having his team, maybe even UAB, having his team run to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you look at UConn's head coach, Hurley. I mean, he would be a shoo-in for that program. But is he willing to leave? I don't think so. I think most people think going from UConn to Kentucky's a step down because UConn's kind of a shoo-in for talent. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who they end up coming to terms with because, I don't know if you realize this. A lot of people don't either, but he just announced today that it's official. Calipari himself that he is leaving Kentucky. So when news spreads fast, and we knew this for about 24 to 28 hours ahead of when it was confirmed. But I mean, they haven't even officially announced it yet. And when that does, I mean, the clock's on. So I mean, if you're Kentucky, you've already been doing your research and you've already got some guys in mind, kind of like Alabama with Greg Byrne when Nick Saban left. But I think we're going to give it 2 or 3 days, and we're going to find out who the new head coach is going to be. And
let's be honest. There are agents right now that are helping negotiate their current coaches' contracts everywhere and leveraging Kentucky again. I heard Kentucky's calling. Do you want him to leave? How about a bigger buyout?
Sure. Sure.
You got to know that's happening.
Absolutely. Nate Oates would not have been the guy for them, and I think the reason is this: he is he's the perfect fit at Alabama. He's a guy who has rebuilt culture. And when you are the guy, and he's kind of the Nick Saban of college basketball at Alabama, when you look at a guy who is able to not only rebuild culture but rebuild a program, it's forever changed. That's what Nate Oates has done for Alabama basketball. You look at what he's done in his short time being there. I mean, there's no reason at this point for Nate Oates to go to Kentucky and try to do that, because let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Kentucky is a history-based program. Kentucky's going to have to find someone that walks the walk and talks the talk that Kentucky wants them to do, and Nate Oates is not going to be that guy for them. So in my mind, I always knew from the second they said Nate Oates, I'm like, that's not going to happen. That's basically saying that Urban Meyer's going to come to Alabama. There's no way we're going to want him, and there's no way he's going to want to come here.
Okay. Well, I think we've run, men's basketball here pretty good. Listen, we're gonna wind up taking a break here momentarily, and I don't know if we can fit it all in, but there's been some huge things in women's basketball. There's been some huge things in terms of women's sports. And then somewhere along the line, I want to hear your thoughts on Auburn's A-Day game, because do we have a team coming? I want to hear your thoughts on Auburn. Yes, Auburn's A-Day game. I want to hear your thoughts on it. All right, we're with Hannah Stevens, who is known to many as the UA sign girl. I mean, listen, this woman knows sports like the back of her hand, and she is good at presenting the facts. As we get through this segment, though, I was going to tell you, there are some things that are happening, y'all, right now in the world of sports. Do they relate to sports? Yes, but they also relate to the things that you and I as Rightside ruffians care about. Like, is anybody ever going to wind up stepping up to the plate and saying enough is enough with the idea of transgenders in sports? And there was listen, I guess you're still on the line right now, Hannah. I didn't mean to just start talking over. I thought we were going to break, but I guess I had a little more time than I thought we did. I got a minute left? Okay. Did you see, by the way, Riley Gaines testifying before the Alaska State Legislature this past weekend? Did you see that by any chance?
Yes.
She did.
Yes. I'm so proud of her.
In usual epic fashion, she did a great job, and it's amazing to watch her. She has become, to me, the epitome of being able to provide cogent and well-reasoned analysis that just disarms liberals.
I agree, 1,000,000%. I mean, I think that she has, and I mean, we both got to meet her a couple of weeks ago, and I've texted her since and just told her how proud I am of her, and the Lord has given her a platform, and I know it's probably not something that it's always light to carry. The burden's heavy, but the burden has a purpose, and I think that the Lord has just chosen her to be the voice of reason and the voice for women and the purity of women's sports for years down the road. So I'm very proud of her.
Hannah Stevens, hang on. We're going to take a break. We'll come right back in about 5 minutes and do more Right Sports with our friend Hannah Stevens, the UA sign girl. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all of the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3, and we're going back to Dipper number 2 with our friend Hannah Stevens, some right sports. Hannah Stevens. Hey, by the way, Hannah Stevens, tomorrow's a big day. Happy birthday to you. UA sign girl, happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I turned 38 tomorrow. I'm very excited.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. Well, I hope you have a great day doing that. And somebody needs to fuss over you, bring you lots of gifts and big cake. That needs to happen.
I affirm that, yes.
Hey, listen, we talked about men's basketball and coaching and stuff, for a pretty good bit there at the first segment. In the next few minutes, though, first of all, let me switch gears. Women's basketball.
Sure.
So the women's NCAA basketball tournament has now occurred. Iowa, Caitlin Clark, talk to us. What happened?
Yeah. I'm heartbroken for her, I'll be honest. I mean, she and Bryce Young, both probably the most legendary players to play at their university, and both leave without a championship. And, I'll say this. When you look at what she's accomplished, I mean, her awards are numerous, that her impact's many. And I think that's more of what someone like Caitlin would want. I mean, if you ask her if she would rather have a national championship or she would rather leave her name etched in stone for many records, I think she would choose the latter, and that's what she did. She changed the game of college basketball, especially for women. And I'll say this, when you look at the fact that, I don't know if you know this, but the Iowa-UConn basketball game was the most watched college basketball, not college or pro women or men's basketball game ever.
Really?
And that's because of Caitlin Clark, yes. It set the record. I believe it was over 14.5 million viewers watched that game, more than any NBA, college basketball, men or women, ever.
Wow.
And that's because of Caitlin Clark.
Wow.
So, I mean, she has completely changed the game. I mean, the joke was at Iowa that it was more expensive to go to a women's college basketball game than it was to go to Iowa football or men's basketball.
Well, you know what, though? I love it when a personality like that comes on and brings something to a program that just drives everything forward. I mean, people rally around that. Fans rally around, other players rally around
Absolutely.
it. So she's NWA, she's NWM, well, I can't say it, WNBA bound now, right?
WNBA.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Well,
and that's going to be happening soon. I mean, she's going to be graduating college and getting drafted and having her first game all within the next couple of months. So she has a busy future ahead of her.
Well, good on her. And, it's too bad she didn't have that ring to take with her, but nonetheless, she's earned some stuff. But, all right, so South Carolina, they pulled it out. They came in, and this was their year. They took Iowa, 87-75, I think. But so South Carolina's women's basketball coach, though, Dawn Staley, even though she coached the winning team, she got a bit controversial there towards the end. What the heck? Did we lose her? I just lost it. Oh, shoot. All right, we'll get her back on the line because that information, if you didn't see this, go ahead and give her a call back there, Big Rig, to see if we can get her back on the line right away. Apparently, we just dropped the call. But Dawn Staley is the coach of South Carolina, the women's basketball team. And she, inexplicably, as the coach of the winning women's team, came out and said that she didn't really have a problem with transgenders competing in women's sports. And we got Hannah back on the line. Hannah, I just let off the topic there, Dawn Staley. What the heck was she thinking?
Yeah, I'll be honest, she's lost all my respect, and I was rooting against them simply because of that. I mean, it's inexcusable. And, I mean, when you look at the impact she's had, not only on South Carolina, but women's basketball, it's heartbreaking. I mean, and especially, it's like this. And I've said this many times, whether it's on your show or, with friends, that, if I wanted to play men's basketball, and really there's no rule. If Caitlin Clark wanted to go to the NBA, they would let her. There's no rule against it. But no guys can be like, ooh, she's going to destroy me. I'm really worried about it, right? But if Steph Curry said, you know what, I'm now going to be called Stephanie Curry, and I'm going to go to the WNBA, every single woman would be like, no, you're not. Are you serious? No, you're way better than all of us. Look at you. So the fact that she's willing to say that is a slap in the face to every single girl on her team that has ever played for her, that is currently playing for her, knowing good and well that any of those men on the men's South Carolina basketball program came and played for her, that they would be replacing one of the girls in her court. And so if I was one of her players, I'd be like, you know what? I'm contemplating. Do I want to play for someone like this? And I mean, I know, the LGBTQ community is celebrating what she said, but anyone with one eye and half sense could see and understand how wrong and how corrupt that was what she said. And I think she's ruined all the respect I had for her because of that one comment.
Yeah, I mean, she just really sucked the life out of her own personal testimony, her own career. But you know what? I guess maybe if you're woke or if you're just weak, you're okay with it. But but she and she's got street cred. I mean, she coached the winning basketball team for the women's NCAA finals. But still, you look at it and think those were your girls, and you just basically said, hey, I wouldn't mind if somebody took advantage of them. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so let me ask you this, though, because here's Dawn Staley at the NCAA saying that, and yet just in the last 24 hours, we got or maybe 48 hours, we got a major ruling from the NAIA, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. I mean, that's not the NCAA level, but they're like a little less influential, but they represent mostly the small colleges. But talk about what just happened and why they are leading the charge now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm correct, they have was it 800 schools? No, was it 83 schools? I can't remember the number, but they're impactful. And I'll say this: when you look at that and you look at something on that scale, it's going to have a ripple effect. And I will be honest with you, and I've said this from day one. I think it's going to have to be a conference by conference decision. I think that the NCAA is going to probably shake its fist and do what it did to Riley Gaines and not stand up. But I mean, let's call it the SEC, right? I mean, the SEC is in the Bible Belt. The SEC is a conference that, Lord willing, still has somewhat of, I mean, that's the conference Riley Gaines swam for. So, I mean, for me, I think the NAIA, what they did, set the precedent. I think it's putting pressure on the NCAA, and I think it's going to put pressure on conferences to say, hey, listen, the NCAA may not want to stand up for what's right, but we are, because we're the SEC, and it just means more, right? That's their slogan.
Yeah.
So how can we mean it more? How can they do more, and how can they be more? And I think it's taking the NAIA to do something uncomfortable. And I'll say this, I don't know if you saw, but the people who were on the committee that made the decision, it was anonymous. All 20 of them voted in favor of banning transgender athletes, and I think that says a lot. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm an athlete, and I'm not saying that, that being an NAIA athlete is going to get you to the NBA or the NFL, but I'm not saying it can't. But if I'm a female, which I am, let's say I'm a 16-year-old girl, my mind's kind of like, do I want to go to the NCAA and play that I may get replaced by a man one day and get beat out like Riley Gaines did unfairly and unjustly? Or do I want to go to the NAIA and perform, participate and play at a smaller division, but also be protected? I mean, that's going to be a topic of conversation, and I'm very interested to see, especially with some of the programs that are kind of in the NAIA that have made waves and, the way they played against the NCAA teams. I mean, what's going to happen there? Are they going to get more athletes? Are they going to get more money? I mean, what programs and what industries and businesses are going to support the NAIA and leave the NCAA simply because they ruled in favor of banning transgender athletes? I'm excited for it.
Well, and by the way, I just found the stats while you were talking there that NAIA has 83,000 athletes at 250 schools.
It says 83,000 athletes. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, it's 83,000 athletes at 250 schools, which is looks like about 1/5 the size of the NCAA. But still, I mean, they're so basically they went ahead and said, hey, NCAA, you can pound sand. We're going to lead the charge here and we'll take care of our female athletes, is what they said.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I mean, I think for me, I've always been disappointed since Riley Gaines that no one stood up for her. And, I mean, I'm so proud of her for standing up for what she believes in and standing up for what she's doing. But it is a dang shame that she had no one stand up for her, that no one, whether it was at Kentucky, whether it was in the SEC, whether it was in the NCAA, that no one said, listen, this is wrong. Like, what are we doing? Like, in what fantasy reality are we, like, fantasy facade are we living in that we think it's okay for this to happen? I mean, if this would have been 20 years ago in a movie, there would have been an outroar in the theater. There would have been an outroar in the audience of like, whoa, no, this is not right. I mean, it's like contradictory of like even having a league of their own. Like there's a reason it was fought for.
Yeah, we used to joke about this. Klinger on MASH was the cross-dresser that everybody knew was trying to get out because that proved he was crazy, right? Nowadays, you can pretend you're a cat, you know, and be accommodated in some way. It's nuts. All right, well, listen.
Sponsored by Meow Mix.
All right, listen. And on that note, we are out of time, but you owe me a conversation about Auburn A-Day football game, just so you know.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
No, this was good stuff. I was right there with you. I mean, I think that probably one of the most stellar conservative moments in sports in recent days has been the NAIA decision. That's absolutely the best thing for us to end the segment on. My friend, Hannah Stevens, we appreciate you. Thanks for calling in for some Right Sports.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing, and I appreciate all you're doing.
Thanks, my friend. All right. That's it. We're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back and switch gears. I'll take some text messages and move towards Dipper number 3, the false bottom. I got some stories of curl your hair. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Wow, making it cool to be a conservative. I got a bunch of text messages. Let me catch up on a few of these before I jump into the next topic. So, Thomas from Athens, what did you say to me, Thomas? Oh, my texter's doing that thing again, man. It wants to reboot when I'm trying to read. Oh yeah, so Thomas from Athens. By the way, Thomas, thank you for that. He's looking at the connecting me. If you missed my monologue earlier, today I did a monologue about a legend has passed. That's what I called it. A legend has passed, and the legend was Colonel Ralph Puckett. He was a legend in the Army Ranger community, really a legend in the military, and known not only for his heroics. I mean, listen, y'all, if you missed it, you need to go to the podcast and get this one, because I just basically gave an ode to the memory of Colonel Ralph Puckett, who passed away yesterday at 97 years old. A Medal of Honor, a Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, 3 Bronze Stars for Valor, 5 Purple Hearts. I mean, how does this happen? But that's the guy who just passed away. But he was also just known for how huge his heart was, and how he loved to mentor young troops. To the day he died, he was on Fort Benning meeting with troops and giving them inspiration, and he will be sorely missed. Anyway, Thomas from Athens is well aware of another Medal of Honor winner that he and I were texting back and forth about. Thomas, I'm game, man. Love to. Jeff from Indiana says, as the texter decides to reboot once again, this is going to be a long segment if I can't get my text messages to open up. Come on. All right. Is this where you throw the computer outside and stomp on it? It's just sitting here buffering right now.
What text are you trying to read?
Jeff from Indiana. Can you read it? He says, Phil, I heard that.
Yeah, I heard that Calipari's, I don't know who that is, buyout from
basketball coach, yeah.
Kentucky was $30 million because he had a lifelong contract, and salary was between $8 to $8.5 million a year. Just think that a coach's buyout would be enough to save Birmingham Southern. Crazy when you think about it.
Good gosh. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. I love all my ruffians, but if they call tomorrow and offer me the job for half his salary, I'm out of here, just so you know. Just half.
Just split it with me.
Just half. Sure. Keith from Parts Unknown, Buffer says, the NAIA schools recently banned transgender play except for that's what we were talking about, Keith. Thank you very much. That was a big story, big story. Terry from Madison says, if my texture will, this is nuts, man. Okay, I'm going to have to move on because texting is, okay. Terry from Madison says, I just learned that the SAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, I think it means, Daughters of the American Revolution, as of last fall, is accepting trans whatevers. Men who decided to be women and put it on their birth certificate. I'm disgusted. Terry, I had heard the same thing. In fact, somebody who I know told me that their mom is in the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and were shocked to find that as Daughters of the American Revolution, they were accepting transgenders like that was really a thing that's going to help the organization. Chris from Gadsden again, he says, Kentucky liked Calipari but didn't love him. He won 1 national championship, should have won 3 or 4, no Final Four since 2015. Obviously a loser, he says. I happen to know that Chris from Gadsden is a major Alabama fan. Just saying. JT Lacey Springs. I'm surrounded. JT Lacey Springs says, with regards to Hannah, says she's snappy, sharp, quick to answer. Myself and perhaps others would like her to host her own one day. Bet it would be one-of-a-kind show. JT, perhaps there's news in the making. Just saying. I'll leave that hanging right there. But thank you, JT. Louis from Birmingham. I don't know what you're saying to me. Okay, Lewis is saying something with acronyms. Lewis, if you want to expand on that, maybe I'll come back to it and know what we're talking about. Tony from Elkmont says about, I guess he's talking, Tony, what are you talking about? You talking about Coach Staley, I guess? She was asked by a reporter that question. She did not just come out and say it. What's your point? If I'm asked by a reporter, if I'm walking down the street and I up and say, I don't think transgender should be in women's sports, that's unilateral. If I'm asked by a reporter and I say, I don't think transgender should play in women's sports, the answer doesn't change. So anyway, he said, I just want to be factually correct. Maybe I missed something personally. I would not have just answered it. I would answer it. I would answer it and say, friggin' no. How you like me now? John from Huntsville says, even though Hannah Stevens is a diehard Alabama sports fan, I still want to wish her a happy birthday. And I actually enjoyed her sports segment today. And I thought most of her comments were spot on. And she definitely has a chance of being today's winner. See, look at this. I'm telling you, man, she resonates. Brandon from Athens goes, it's the rainy weather, LOL. He's after, what's he talking about?
Jimmy from Priceville says, stop using dial-up.
Stop using dial-up? We don't use dial-up.
We have fiber, don't we?
Yeah, bro. When we built this studio, we actually had to have special fiber laid that nobody else in the building has.
Special fibers, okay. Nice.
Yeah, that's my high-tech term. Are you mocking me right now? Did you just do that?
No.
You just called me out in front of everybody. Is that special fibers, Phil?
It's break time.
Yes. I went down to Radio Shack and bought some special fibers. All right, Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We're switching gears. Dipper number 3, false bottom. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state, the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. Y'all, I'm talking about this show goes like way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. I am also mindful of the fact, though, that there's somebody else who covers a lot of ground. That's one of our sponsors, Southern Immediate Care. So you guys, listen, if you're not familiar, Southern Immediate Care is a chain of clinics that covers like a huge swath of ground across North Alabama. I mean, places like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala, 6 more locations around the Birmingham area. Newest one they've got is in Helena. I hear there's more on the way. Southern Immediate Care opens 7 days a week in all their locations, and they will see all ages. Southern Immediate Care. And by the way, that's who I use personally. No kidding. That's who I use personally. Not because they advertise. I use them because I already was, and I was so pleased with how clean, professional, and friendly they were that then I went to them and said, I could brag on y'all. Would you want it? And they said, yeah, we will. It turns out they're owned by a Rightside ruffian, so how's that? But yeah, Southern Immediate Care. Great at what they do. And if you need medical attention, even on a Saturday, you look them up, find the location nearest to you, and just head on down. Tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. I would appreciate that. All right, we're in Dipper number 3. I did home fries so far. I did Right Sports next. This one I'm calling the false bottom. What? So listen, the government should not be putting safety nets onto friggin' everything. When they do, so often they think, okay, we'll make it safe, so your feet will always touch the bottom. And then, whoosh, it falls out because they can't sustain it. They put these false bottoms in place, and people think, okay, it's now safe to dive into the deep end, but the bottom's a lot deeper than you thought it was because what you had is a false bottom. Well, this is no way to run government, nor is it any way to try and run the private sector. What am I talking about? I got a lot of things here. I got a stack full of stuff, so let's see what we can get through. But here's a classic example. I know it's San Francisco. Phil, did you go to San Francisco? Yes, I did. But listen, this story is a classic example of needing to provide the false bottom, the rescue, the safety. People shouldn't have to be expected to live life without us. We're the government. Okay, here's the deal. San Francisco's dying in a pile, right? It is. I hate it, but it is. I saw one article that said that San Francisco is in what many economists are calling a death spiral. A death spiral. As retailers and restaurants and other businesses are leaving downtown because of crime and drug use and just a complete lack of security, on top of, overly accommodating state policies now for working from home. Who wants to pay rent for a high-rise office in a building in downtown Chicago when your people get mugged, your cars get broken into, there's needles on your doorstep, and you can just work from home just as easily? That's what people are thinking. Well, when that happens, then there's nobody to take their lunch break at the local restaurant. So they close because they're also tired of sweeping up needles and feces. So right now, a story here from PJ Media. Dateline yesterday. Everybody from high-end retailers like Nordstrom and Saks Fifth Avenue and global brands like Uniqlo and Gap and H&M to the corner Walgreens and CVS outlets have all called it quits on the city that knows how to make everything worse. Yeah. But here's the thing. San Francisco's Board of Supervisors, and one of their members, a guy named Dean Preston, he thought it'd be a great idea to try and slow some of this down. And if a grocery store is leaving, what will his people do? They won't know how to get food. So what's he going to do? He's trying to pass a local act that prevents grocery stores from leaving. I kid you not. Now let me just step in there and remind y'all, these are not state-owned grocery stores. This is not, the Soviet Union. This is not communist China. This is not North Korea. No, this is a private sector thing. This is like, Publix. And if Publix has nobody shopping there, or Publix is tired of getting robbed, or Publix is just not able to sustain the local tax rates, Publix is going to go, profit margin. Wow, what do we do? Let's close down and go somewhere else. And they just do. The government cannot tell them to leave. Unless, of course, you live in the delusional world of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, specifically member Dean Preston. who said, our communities need notice. They need opportunity to be heard and a transition plan when a major neighborhood grocery store plant. What does he think's going to happen? Are his people just going to starve? Do they not know how to, I don't know, go to another store? See, liberals do this. Liberals insult their people all the time. It's just like when, black Democrats scream racism because we have voter ID laws. Well, my people won't know. They'll be disenfranchised from their vote. Are you telling us that your black constituents are not smart enough to get a photo ID? Because that's what you're saying. Well, this is what Dean Preston's saying in San Francisco. His people are not smart enough to know how to get food if they lose their corner grocery store. So his bill would require that grocery stores meet and work in good faith with neighborhood residents. Okay. Find a workable solution to keep groceries available at the location. Not going to happen. Those solutions could include identifying strategies and resources to allow the store to remain open, helping residents to organize a cooperative. What? And identifying another grocery store operator to take over and continue the. So here's how that's going to work. Publix says, we're closing. Winn-Dixie goes, we're not going over there. If Publix ain't going to make it, we're not going. Well, would Trader Joe's come? Trader Joe's look at it and go, screw that. Nobody's going to be there. It's a private sector thing, but you can't put that false bottom in and expect it to work. Now, I hate to stay in California too long, but I gotta. Here's another one. The false bottom. We're going to save all you workers. All of you people who chose burger flipping as a career path. Notice I didn't say as a job. I said as a career path, because apparently that's what it is now. In California, if you know how to drop the fries, you have got a resume builder right there. Listen, there is nobody out there who knows how to stock the soft drinks like somebody at In-N-Out Burger in California. It's a career. It's that thing that I have. It's my calling in life. Okay. So in California, you may be familiar that just recently, April 1st, they increased the minimum wage for all restaurants that have at least 60 locations nationwide. Nationwide. Not like in California. If you got 60 nationwide, guess what? You're now paying $20 an hour for your burger flippers. $20 an hour to say, would you like a biggie size of that, sir? That's what you got. $20 an hour. Costs are going through the roof. This is a false bottom. We're going to protect the workers. We're going to make sure they have what they need. Well, let's see. If you got paid $17 an hour, which most of them were, if you got paid $17 an hour and you got to work 30 hours a week at $17 an hour, what's better, that or getting $0 an hour because you lost your job? It's not rocket science. Fox Business has a story came out today. A pizza chain has already shuttered. Listen, several pizza chains went ahead and laid off all their delivery people. Just laid them off. We'll let Uber Eats be the ones who deliver. DoorDash can have it. We're not doing it anymore. We're not paying $20 an hour for somebody to pick up the pizza and go back out the door and drive around town listening to their music and, delivering pizza sort of on time. Not doing it. But then Mod Pizza, which is apparently a franchise that has 500 locations nationwide, Mod Pizza just started closing down California locations this week. The law was going to go into effect, I think, starting the 21st of this month, and boom, Mod Pizza goes, you know what, we're out of here. The company did not specify a reason, but the workers in its Clovis location, whose shop abruptly closed, told the outlet they suspected the California closures had to do with a new law. You think? Just kind of seemed like the right timing. 2 weeks before all the fast food locations in California got that increase, we closed, said a Mod Pizza employee who chose to remain anonymous. False bottom, y'all. False bottom never sustains the operations. What you got?
But see, the cost of living is so much more there. So even though they're getting paid more, it's still like they're making them minimum wage, like what we make here.
Oh yeah, but that's the way liberals look at it. The liberal policies are what drove the cost of living so high, but they can't reconcile that. What they got to do is make the corporations pay people a higher wage, but all that does is create more of a false bottom. Because now the economy is unjustly inflated, and if you step across the line to Nevada, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
If you drive, down the way to Texas, which a lot of companies have, all of a sudden the cost of living your retirement check goes a lot further in Texas or Alabama than it does in California. All right, one more for the break. You ready? The CHIPS Act. So I'm not going to fuss with the fact that the Biden administration recognized that we got a problem because semiconductor chips are what drives so much of everything technology-wise. It's where special fiber comes from. But yeah, so semiconductor chips largely made in Taiwan. Well, if we got into a place where we couldn't get them from Taiwan because of our relationship with China, what are we going to do? Because so much of what we rely upon these days has to have it. Everything from cell phones and TVs, computers, your cars, semiconductor chips are everywhere. The Biden administration helped get the CHIPS Act passed, which put $39 billion, it's part of the deficit spending, but nonetheless, $39 billion to encourage semiconductor fabrications in the U.S. But less than a week later, story here from thehill.com that came out last month, less than a week later, Intel announced it's putting the brakes on its Columbus factory. The Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company pushed back its production of a second Arizona foundry, and the remaining chip maker, Samsung, just delayed its first Texas fabricating site. Why? Because of DEI. They filled the bill with so many DEI requirements that these folks are not even wanting to take the free government money. They're literally saying, you know, those subsidies, multi-billion dollars worth of subsidies, we could use that, except that we can't use that because something about, high-tech qualified jobs that require people to have a certain base of knowledge and maybe an intellectual prowess, it may not be accommodated by having to mandate the demographics of the workforce. Like when you say, well, we need semiconductor chips that are, above the standards and going to make the industry great, but 40% of your workforce has to be minorities. We can't find them. And I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm just saying they made the stringent requirements so stringent that dadgummit, they're saying, we're just not going to be able to do this. It has 19 different sections in the bill that helps minority groups, including one that creates a chief diversity officer at the National Science Foundation, prioritizing any number of minority-based jobs that are required in order to get the subsidies. In other words, if you're going to take this money, you're going to have a transgender workforce. You're going to have X amount of this demographic and that demographic. Okay, wonderful. Are they qualified? That's what we care about. Do they have the ability to advance in the industry? That's what we care about. Can they make a semiconductor chip? That's what we care about. And the reality is these companies that know their own industry are saying, this is not worth it. That's a false bottom. So once again, the government decided to put a safety net in place. And yet once you jump in the water neck deep, you still can't touch the bottom. Let's take a break there, Big Rig. We'll do that right now. We'll come right back, and I'll decide whether I can get any more. I got more content. I got more content than I got show. Let's do a fourth hour. You want to? Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Graham from Meridianville just said, you need a dipper called Cali Crazy. That's, you know what? We could do one called Cali Crazy. Lou Ann from Huntsville says DEI stands for didn't earn it. And she is right. Steve from Huntsville says, as I said before, we saw the movie in 1984. It didn't end well. Skynet. Yes, indeed. All right, listen, let me jump over to the phone. Is that Jeff Rowe? Jeff Rowe from Indiana. How you doing, brother?
I'm sitting here in Nashville traffic. Woohoo!
Oh, man. Are you dreaming about that Jeep you bought?
Hey, yeah. I get home, thank God it's got good lights because it'll be dark time I get home.
Oh, wow. So tell me about the Jeep you got, though. I saw just a part of it in the picture.
Yeah, I got a 2017 Smoky Mountain Edition Wrangler.
Wow. Got some aftermarket stuff already on it, or is it all stock?
Oh no, it's got the fender inserts and little light kits and stuff like that and everything. And last night I stopped by and got some rail doors, so all I need is a soft top now.
Let's be honest. You look good in it, don't you?
I look good in anything.
Well, what you think about today's topics? What's on your mind?
Phil, you're wrong about this San Francisco guy that wants to keep the markets in place.
Oh, pray tell. How could that be?
Well, he knows his constituents, which are mostly liberal Democrats. And I mean, if the market goes away, these people are literally so dumb maybe that they don't have nowhere to spend their food stamps at. I mean, you do realize that the number one cause of liberal death is asphyxiation.
Asphyxiation?
Yeah, they become too dumb to figure out how to breathe.
Oh my gosh! I look at it though. But isn't it true though? At every turn, it seems like the liberal mollycoddling is actually it's like an indictment on the intelligence of their constituents when they say these things can't happen and that's not good for them and they won't be able to get by. It just boggles my mind.
Well, they're mostly right. I mean, these people are completely resilient on the government giving them something to do. Yeah, and San Francisco, think about that. I mean, my gosh, these people, they keep putting in the same people who cause them to step on poop and needles, and it's like, well, I don't know how I could fix that. I guess I'll just keep voting for the same one who's in office now.
Yeah,
these people are lunatics.
They're just out there wishing they had more laboratory grown meat and whatever else to eat. It's just I do not understand. By the way, California is a beautiful state. I don't know if you've ever been there or not. I lived there for a period of time when I was a kid. It's a beautiful. It's a jewel, and they're just running it in the ground, like literally running it into the ground.
I've never been there and have no desire to go there until they maybe straighten things out, but I don't know if I'll live long enough to see that or not.
Well, and I do know there are conservatives that live out there. They're just vastly outnumbered. And
they're leaving in droves, I'm afraid.
Yeah. All right, man.
Why would you want to stay in that mess?
I gotta get off here and finish up a couple things for the top of the hour. You be safe on the road, especially in this weather, all right?
Have a good one, Phil. Thank you.
We'll see you, man. All right. Hey, listen, the grades are in, by the way. John from Huntsville says, Big Rig and Phil both get an A double plus for their equally fantastic performances. However, I knew it. Today's winner is Hannah Stevens with an A triple plus. Congratulations. Also, just for today, I'm going to say Roll Tide, and Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. However, he is still the worst NFL coach of all time. A little caveat there, just in case Hannah's listening. John, appreciate you, man, as always, and all of you appreciate you as an audience. Mark from Laredo, Tennessee, is getting back on me with that special fiber because maybe y'all have too much fiber and it's backing up your internet speed. I don't know. I thought having more fiber helped loosen things up. That's what I.
Did you see what Jeff said?
No, what'd he say?
He said, Phil, I don't think that special fiber's keeping you as regular as it should be.
Oh my gosh. It's like being a youth pastor again, all the turd jokes. It's awesome. All right. We love this audience. Y'all are amazing. Have an amazing night. We're back here tomorrow at 2. We will see you then.